What's up, Duke fans? Welcome to the Devil's Den podcast. I'm your host, Josh Smith, joined by my co-host, Raul and Shu. I figured we would come out here and react a little bit to the NBA draft. So as we're recording this, the second round is currently on right now. Shouts to Sion. Just saw him get drafted by the Hornets at 33. So we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about Coop, Khan, Kaman, Sion, hopefully get into some Tyree stuff here as well. Keeping an eye on that as we move forward here, fellas. I guess we'll start at the top, though. I mean, got to start with Coop. No surprises there. We all expected him to go one. The fit was pretty seamless. Anything you want to kind of chop it up here around regarding Coop and the fit in Dallas? I mean, I think there's a few talking points. Kyrie just re-signed there, which is pretty big news. Gafford just re-signed. Not sure exactly what they're going to do with some of the other pieces. We talked about it with Brian Geisinger as well. But Shu, what are you thinking of with Coop going to Dallas? First off, though, what do you think about the fit? Goatee Coop?
Yeah, I mean, look, the goatee Coop, already maturing up a little bit. I saw a clip. I don't know if you guys caught it. There was a clip where Allen Iverson had ran into him and was giving him a lot of praise. Look, I love that he's going to end up in Dallas. He's not going to like a garbage franchise, for lack of a better word. Just couldn't have asked for a better situation for him, I guess, in that regard. So I'm happy for him. Obviously, everybody knew he was going to be the number one pick. He's been slated for that the last 24 months maybe now, going on a pretty good while. So yeah, loved everything about it. Loved his excitement. Obviously the family was there with him, mom and dad and everybody. Going to miss seeing all of them around Cameron, but hopefully they'll all be, they'll be back for a game here or there.
Yeah, I think there's not like a lot new to say, really. Like Shu said, it's like pretty much as soon as he reclassified, it was like known that he was going to go number one, right? So, the shocking part, of course, was Dallas getting the number one pick.
Sure.
But, as I think it's going to be cool, like maybe not next year, obviously, because Kyrie's going to be out. So the team, it's like, who knows how it's going to look. They're going to have to add another guard or something. But once Kyrie gets back, presuming he heals up nicely, I mean, it is a major injury. And
he's not young anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But then you have a pretty fun team with like him, AD, and Coop, and you have like the defensive infrastructure to kind of insulate Kyrie. Not that Kyrie's like a terrible defender or anything, but then Kyrie's the guy who's going to create for you in the half court, and a Cooper can do that a little bit too, obviously. But yeah, I think we kind of went over a lot of the kind of points of interest with Brian last week, so people can check that out as well.
Yeah, I definitely would refer back to that. I think for me, it comes back to I think Coop AD as a 4-5 is really nice, but then AD has spent the last 8 years campaigning not to play the 5, and because of the toll that it takes on him physically. I get that, and then if you're doing this 3-4-5 with him and Gafford or Coop, Davis, Lively, I don't hate it as a year one kind of experiment, just if you're going to put Coop on the ball and let him kind of operate that way. There's definitely way worse fits for a lot of number one picks.
Yeah.
I think for me, fellas, the most impressive part though is the humility and just the consistent just steadiness. After Shu just talked about, this kid was supposed to be the number one pick for 24 months, but to actually then go and then do it. And not just do it, but to also perform in college, to be the National Player of the Year, to go to the Final Four, and then to also just continue on to that's hell of impressive, man. To just ride that pressure the whole way. You just don't see it a whole lot, man. It's pretty rare to stay that steady, man. So shout out to Coop, man. Gonna miss him. Love the goatee, Coop. That was cool.
Yeah, to your point about his humility, he was as excited for Khan as he was for himself, right? There's that clip of the interview he was doing Malika Andrews, I think, and he just overhears going on behind him that Khan was drafted, and he's just really stoked, right? Huge reaction, probably the biggest reaction I've seen from him off court for anything, to be honest with
you. yeah.
He's pretty stoic
right? Dude. Yeah, very stoic dude. He also got a little excited for Kaman too. Obviously, they're really close. So, that's pretty cool as well. I guess we'll go ahead and move and not to cut Coop short. I mean, we love Coop. Obviously, he's probably one of my favorite Duke players of the last 30 plus years now. But it was a pretty boring thing, right? Like you just knew he's the number one pick. There was really no debate to that. And so that's the way it played out. Khan, I think, is probably the most interesting one for us to probably talk about, fellas. I mean, we talked about it with Brian. When the mocks came out, I really loved the San Antonio kind of because they were like projected to be around 7 or 8. Obviously, they get the second pick. That kind of, you don't think they're going to jump that high. But for Charlotte to leap up and take him at 4th, with Ace Bailey sitting there, some other guys sitting there. I mean, when we had Brian on, he said that he was going to do some con stuff, but he really didn't think that was going to be the move, unless they kind of traded back or some other things happened. I think he talked more about Kaman there as a potential with the Mark trade. We'll get into that dynamic in a second. But what do y'all make of Khan staying home, kind of semi in a way, right? Staying in Charlotte, obviously ACC tournament MVP right down there. Shouts to Jordan Mann. He had a pretty awesome little thing for Khan there too. But Shu, as the native Charlottean here, what do you make of Khan staying home, man?
I mean, look, he's undefeated in the Spectrum Center, 3-0.
True that.
ACC tournament MVP. Obviously, I love the pick. I like when we keep guys here. I think there's a this is still, I would say, I'd call it a Carolina town. There's more Carolina people here than there are Duke fans, but there's a good bit of Duke fans in Charlotte, and we'll come out to watch Hornets team featuring Khan and now Sion as well. So I like the pick. I think adding some shooting to go with LaMelo, Brandon Miller, the center part where we'll see how that kind of plays out. I would have loved for Khan to be able to play with Mark Williams because we saw how he played in the pick and roll with Kaman. And I don't think Khan really – he didn't showcase his mid-range game as much at Duke this last year, but I think if you are running that pick and roll with him, he can facilitate, and then he can also, if you're in drop coverage, just pull right up and knock a 15, 16 footer down with probably pretty much ease. So I like it. Obviously, I'm kind of curious what Raul thinks.
Yeah, man, I think it's a good situation for him because you're going to have LaMelo on the ball so often, and Khan obviously can play off the ball really well, right? But he can play on the ball when LaMelo's off the court. I think it's just when we had Brian on last week, we were talking about is Khan going to develop his off the dribble shooting game, right? He didn't really showcase that at Duke when you think about it. KOC had some stats about that, and it's he had taken 10 pull up threes all year, right? So it's you're kind of questioning well, what's his ceiling with that stuff? But maybe he doesn't really need to do that right away with a guy like LaMelo, who is so ball dominant. He can just kind of fit in, cut off the ball, run off screens, all that stuff. And you've got Miller doing the same thing. I think it could be a super dynamic offense with great floor spacing. Like Shu said, they do kind of have a question mark at big, and you wonder can they find somebody who can just finish a lob? I know Kalkbrenner's huge, but he's not exactly maybe a lob threat.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely wish Mark was there for that, right? And they didn't. I don't know. I guess what they got back ended up being Sion, right? So I guess part of the trade they get that. So I guess you take that a little bit. I definitely would have liked it better if he had that lob threat there, just because how awesome he is at playing off that. It's kind of a bit weird.
LaMelo, honestly, too.
For sure, threat, right? For sure. Now, Mark hasn't reached the ceiling. I get that. He's had some help stuff too, and he's never really broke through. But you got to figure something. I mean, you can't throw your second round Kalkbrenner out there. I don't think as you're starting big. You can go small with Grant Williams if he sticks around.
Right, but he's not. He's not. He's going to be.
No, neither one of those. Yeah. And so I guess if LaMelo is healthy, like you said, though, Khan's not going to probably have the ball too much in his hand. He is going to be more off the ball. I'm not as concerned about can he shoot off dribble, just because he's such a damn good shooter anyway, and he just seems to be able to figure it out. His work ethic's there.
In the little bit we did see, it looked great. There would be times when he would not go all the way to the rim, and he would pull up for that mid range.
Oh, I don't even know if he missed one like the last month and a half of the season,
Yeah.
dude. Like it was just that little
didn't
shimmy,
many,
pull
but,
away. Yeah. If you cut him off there and the lob wasn't there, I don't know if he's going to start there or not, but I think it's a good pick. You mentioned KOC. I was listening to his podcast last night, and he was talking about how intentional of a pick it was. He was like, at 4, you kind of think, do you reach for the Everest with Ace Bailey and you just try to knock it out? But he was like, Charlotte has been just the franchise that they've been in, basically. And this is like, let's actually try to build something. Let's try to like intentionally craft some sort of roster here. And Brooklyn had 5 first-round picks, and I would take Charlotte's 4 in a heartbeat over Brooklyn's 5 that they had. I mean, you're adding Khan, you got McNeely, we just talked about Sion, Kalkbrenner. That's solid, man. Like you're adding some infrastructure. I'm not sure, Raul, we were talking offline. I'm not sure exactly like how it all looks with LaMelo. I don't even really know where I stand with LaMelo just because of the health. Like it's like, what are we going to get with that? Can you trust that? It's like Zion to me. Can we really trust to throw everything in there? But you got a lot of half court like awesomeness and like defensive awesomeness here. LaMelo obviously wants to play in probably a top 2-3 pace offense to really maximize that. So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe LaMelo gets traded, or maybe you just say, like, hey, let's just go all in on offense, and you got the shooting now to do it. So it's at least going to be fun. Like I would consider, like if I was in Charlotte, I would totally consider, like, hey man, what are season tickets or what are those like pick 10 packages looking like? I might even come down a couple of times to check this out. I mean, at least there's some buzz.
I don't think you mentioned it, but like Wendell Moore was on the team last year.
Seth, too,
Seth Curry as well. So Seth, he's unrestricted free agent now, so who knows if he'll be back. But I would guess Moore is back, so you might even have another Duke guy down there or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. On one hand, I was like really, really, really excited because it's close to home. You get to see Khan again. I mean, absolutely awesome. A part of me though, like for Khan, it's like, man, I'm a Hornets fan, but don't ruin this kid, man. Like, let's not ruin this kid, dude, because he's so good. And if you put him in like a really great situation, he's just going to impact winning at like such a high level. And Charlotte has been semi-contagious to impacting winning. So, I hate to bash that, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't really see him failing though. Just like, there are guys who you kind of think, okay, if they're in like a losing situation, do they just kind of mentally check out? I just don't see that happening with him. Like just everything I've kind of gleaned.
Yeah, too steady.
Yeah,
too steady. Yeah, and let's go ahead and get like 2 other Knips down the road. They'll only be 3 hours away. We'll get some family therapy in here. Like we'll make it work.
I don't know if it's Kager or Kinston. One of them is already taller than Khan. One of them is pretty big.
Yeah,
I think it's whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to all the brothers up there too, man. That's first class. That was super cool. Yeah, I mean, to me, this was the like moment of the draft for me where I was like, ooh, okay, like we're finally like making some moves here. Yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned it here. Like, I kind of think he starts. Like, I mean, is that too off the wall? I mean, because you're looking at it, if LaMelo's healthy, you got him, Brandon Miller. I mean, I could play Con at the 2. Miller at the 2-3, whatever. Who throw those guys on the wing, Bridges, and
I mean Miller's like what 6'7" or something. He can easily play the 3.
Yeah.
So
Khan too, right? They could interchange there if they need to. I mean,
to me, it's like that would be my starting lineup. Would be Ball, Khan, Miller, Bridges, and then whoever the center is.
Yeah, Nurkic is kind of a weak fit there. I mean, I'd rather go Grant, honestly, and just go crazy small and just like spread it all out. Yeah, and just run with it.
I guess the question would be whether Trey Mann might beat out, Khan to start because, Mann does have several years of NBA experience under his belt, and he's not a bad player either. So
no, and I like Trey too. Yeah, and if Khan comes off the bench for a little bit, like that's fine. I mean, I guess my more point is, do you see this like, and I hate to do this, I just did this with Brian, but like Reed Shepherd Khan spectrum here. Like, I don't really see Khan needing to spend too much time in the G League. Like, I mean, it just seems the fit's there. You're going for him at 4. There's an obvious hole there for him.
And Houston's situation was so different than
Yeah.
than
I mean, they were
Charlotte's,
one
you know?
seed, right? Like it's yeah.
And it's like they also had so many shooting guards, like
Mm.
already on the roster.
Yep.
You know, obviously with the KD trade they just did, like people are like, oh, one of the good things there is that Reed Shepherd will actually get to play because you sent out Jalen Green, you sent out Dylan Brooks, you suddenly freed up these minutes. But you know, they had like 5 or 6 shooting guards, so it's like that's different than the Charlotte situation where you're really only looking at him and Trey Mann as like viable starters.
Yeah. Now I want to get Brian back on to really just talk about like, okay, what can they do with this roster? Like, who can we get in here at the 5? Because he was talking about that as Mark and maybe come on, and now you're kind of there's not a single lob threat on the roster now or a shot blocker, so that's a bit problematic. But you know, we'll see. We'll see.
But you know, I understand why Charlotte did it. Okay, so first of all, they tried to trade Mark to the Lakers. You know, and it's like once you've done that, you've already been kind of like, we don't want you, and then it just creates this like awkward situation. And was he even like interested in re-signing with them? And then also like despite all the health stuff, they still got good value for him. They got like 2 first-round picks. So for me, from their perspective, that's like good front office business. Like I totally understand why they did it. And also he's played like 40 games every season. Maybe they're just like sick of like, okay, we have LaMelo who only plays 40 games. Can we really have this other dude who's only playing 40 games on top of that? So, you know, I get it from their perspective, but
yeah. Got some breaking news in real time. So it looks like the Cavaliers are going to take Tyrese at 49th.
oh, nice.
So
That was a team that I thought of as like a potentially good fit. Nice.
Yeah, especially because they have some decisions to probably make it guard anyway, so there might be some opening up coming in there. So yeah, shouts to Tyrese. Anything else about Con?
Oh yeah, so we'll talk about Tyrese later, I guess.
Yeah, I figure. Yeah, I will give him his own section. I just wanted to break it in there real quick. But anything else y'all want to hit on Con wise?
You think Con goes back to the Buzz City?
Oh,
Buzzcut Con was he was a menace there for a while, you know.
That was the power dunk con, right? The buzz cut.
Yeah, Buzzcut Con. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
One other thing I did want to mention that his brothers were all there at the draft.
Yeah. He took all of them up there to the podium with them too. Yeah.
All lined up, matching suits in order of height, all that. So that was pretty fun.
That was pretty clean. Yeah. Like I said, hopefully we'll have some down the road from him. So in case anyone gets homesick, we'll just
I want
call this whiskey South.
I want opposing fans to hate them even more than they hated the Plumleys, right?
Like,
Let's just go through.
There's 5 of these.
Yeah. We could be having Knipples till like 2032 or something.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah. So shouts to them. All right, fellas. I guess we'll, for our audio guys, if you're on video, we're just going to stare at you awkwardly for a second. But for our audio listeners, we're going to take a quick little break here, and then we'll come back and talk a little. Come on. All right, fellas. So let's get into this. So come on. I mean, we talked a little bit about that with Brian as well. To me, this one was like a little bit of like, where is the fit? Where is he going to go? I thought for sure Toronto, just based off the things that I was reading and looking at the roster. He ends up falling to Phoenix at 10, which then also had already committed or was in the process of trading for Mark Williams, and now they have both of them. So let's kind of just like unpack that a little bit here. Is Phoenix going to destroy 2 Duke centers at once, or are they going to play a Twin Towers? What do y'all make of this?
I mean, I think Kaman's going to take a little time to get, kind of acclimated to the NBA.
Yeah.
We saw in the Houston game, like physicality that's a weak point for him, right? You can push him around a little bit.
And not just Houston, Clemson was another one. Stanford, there was some opportunity. Yeah.
Right. So
even just throughout the season, really, like you think about how little he played early in the year versus later. So I could see a similar trajectory in the NBA.
I just know the Houston thing had some other stuff hanging on him. So in case you're just like looking at that one, it's like there were some other times, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Not knocking come on.
Right. Look, overall, wherever he went, didn't matter. I'm just happy for the kid. He seems like a really good kid. Kind of that VJ Edgecombe story, like he came from nothing. He was a refugee, And now he's, going to set his family up for life with a multi-million-dollar contract that he just signed last night, I'm sure. So obviously you saw it in his face. I loved his picture with Adam Silver. Like he's smiling, but he's just got the tears rolling down. Just a cool moment for him. So just happy for him wherever he ended up. I was going to be happy for him, but Phoenix also grabbing Mark Williams there did make that kind of just not make sense to me. But
they got like 8 shooting guards and 4 centers or something as their like roster.
Maybe draft one wing in there at some point. It's weird especially because Mark and him are such similar players in a lot of ways. It's not even like they're 2 super different types of centers. It's not like you're like pairing like an Okafor type with Kaman, right? It's like
or even Carter Bagley would be like they have different skill sets. This is very, very similar.
like
2 7-1, 7-2 guys with long wingspans who can block some shots, rim run.
A little bit of awkwardness still going on, right? Like finding their feet a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of like kind of, even Mark Williams had some of the same problems in the NBA where like just his body type, he can get pushed off his spot a little bit. I think he's probably stronger than Kaman, but he's also played basketball like 10 years longer, so that's understandable.
Sure.
I think it works out because, like Shu said, Kaman is going to have a learning curve. And then you also have to factor in like Mark Williams, like I mentioned earlier, has just like played 40 games every season. So they're potentially just, I'm sure like that was part of Phoenix's thinking, right? Is like, well, we want to trade for Mark Williams because the upside is there, but we also don't want to have him as our only center because we know there are these health concerns. So we're going to draft this other guy and then we can kind of play each of them like 25 minutes or something, 20, 25, whatever.
Yeah. They do, like you said. I mean, they had the shooting to support playing both of them. Obviously, Grayson's still there. Don't know what they're going to do with some of the other guys that are hanging around. But you got Allen, Booker, Beal. I mean, you got a ton of shooting guards out there. But
I wonder if I would suspect Mason Plumlee doesn't re-sign because I'm sure he doesn't want to be the third string center.
Could be another Charlotte guy that looks back at him. Who knows?
And then, that would actually make a lot of sense. He's played on Charlotte already, and he'd be a great backup there. Tyus, I don't think will come back either. He just signed that 1-year contract with Phoenix, and it didn't seem like he enjoyed his time there too much. That whole season was a mess. So and he went from starting to later in the season not starting. So it's like I'm sure he's going to seek like a better opportunity.
Something else. Yeah. I don't want to get too far into Tyus, but I wonder what that fit is. I wonder if a team like Indiana just says like, hey, we could use a vet here. We still have a team that we think can really compete or make a run here. I don't know. Cause there's just an influx of just a lot of good cards in the league right now. There's just not a whole lot of holes out there for contenders. Now, unless he's willing to just kind of be like, hey, I don't mind kind of coming off the bench and being that and winning. That's kind of what he's been used to, really, I guess, over in Memphis and other places. So,
and that probably is his best role. I understand why he wanted to start, but like at the same time, he's such a good backup. Like, I would love it if like Orlando would just add him or something. Just like any team that needs like a little bit more shooting and a little bit more ball handling, and then just play him 15, 20 minutes a game. When guys are injured, he plays more, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he'll end up somewhere that's, I don't know, that's fitting. Yeah, Phoenix just is such a weird spot right now too. Yeah. So
they're a pretty hopeless situation, to be honest with you.
It was cool to see Kaman get drafted though. Like his whole just reaction to it. Just what a cool kid, right? He just seems just full of life, great culture guy. He's gonna be a great locker room dude. I wish that I'm glad though that he does have some other Brotherhood guys out there. I mean, Mark and Grayson are 2 great guys to just kind of mentor and be around. We'll see what Tyus and Mason do. Hopefully Mason comes back to Charlotte. I think they'd be a great fit. But speaking of Charlotte, I guess we'll talk about them again right quick. So Sion, which was pretty hype. I don't know if this was – did y'all think that was was higher than you expected him to go. I think that was where he was talked about, but I just had this fear that he might end up kind of falling. So for him to go like basically fringe first round, pretty big deal. We're going to talk a little bit about development later here, but were y'all surprised by Charlotte popping for another Duke guy here in the non-Michael Jordan era?
Yeah, I mean, 33rd going in front of some guys like Maxine Reynaud, who was putting up 20 points in the ACC.
Chaz Lanier,
Chaz Lanier at Tennessee. Like, I had read some reports that they didn't think that he played well in the combine and stuff. So I thought maybe he might have slipped a little bit in that regard. But obviously, Charlotte, had some faith in him, and I love that he's going to be here because, again, you guys and all the Duke fans know this. What a kid, just a human being, awesome to have him here. So I'm excited about even with McNeely, like Charlotte, I thought drafted really well. I'm excited about the Hornets for one of the only times I can think in the last 20 years.
Decade plus,
since Baron Davis was around.
Been a while.
Yeah, we've talked about it with Brian, like really kind of liking the Charlotte Hornets process since Michael Jordan got out of there, to be honest with you. I thought they've just made smart moves in terms of like accumulating draft picks and just the way that they've approached the whole thing. And I think Sion is kind of another example of that. And speaking of Brian, he actually kind of called that, right? We were like thinking like Sion might go in like the 40s. And Brian was like, I bet you he's going to go like 32nd, 33rd. Yeah. So,
they didn't think he was going to Charlotte, but I mean, he thought that he would go.
He thought he would go to Boston at 32nd, but then of course,
which
Boston
is weird that they didn't take.
That would be like a good, because then they shipped Drew off, right? So I mean, that's when I see Sion, that's kind of what I body type. That's what I think of.
I'm surprised they almost didn't just take him at like 27 or whatever pick that they had in there. I mean, I don't even know who they really took, but
no, it's like somebody from Spain. I don't remember his name.
Some unknown type of he put like 13 minutes at Real Madrid or something, and it's like, all right, like that's a bit high.
I wanted to see like Missoula play Sion at center. Just like get real crazy with it, like.
And maybe the Charlotte Center, they don't have one, right? Sion back in the
Sion and Grant
back in the matchup zone.
Like Sion and Grant Williams have a little similarity there. Like can hit a corner three, big bodies, can defend every position.
Yeah,
there could be some interesting stuff going on there, but it's super cool. Probably just like the guy was rooting for the hardest in this draft.
Yeah,
just love everything about him.
Yeah. And it's really cool that him and Connor like teammates that just made a Final Four. Like you bring that winning just right on in. Like, hey, like this is what we're here to do. We both play like really hard. Sion's defense probably didn't get enough chatter last year. Really, it was just it was like, defense is hard to track anyway as a stat, and he like a lot of the stuff that he does is not super flashy. But man, is he solid. And just the ability to, like, if you need him to handle the ball in a pinch. In the NBA, I don't see him doing a ton of that. But if you needed him to kind of like, hit a closeout on the wing or, whatever, he can do that, right? If you need a release valve, he can be that for you.
I think ideally he's going to be like 3-and-D with a little bit of cutting and slashing. I don't see like primary ball handling really, but like attack a closeout. Do some backdoor cuts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I love the fit in Charlotte, but another one for him, and I know you talked about it too, was like we just watched OKC win the title, and I was like, man, Sion would fit in awesome there too. Just as like you bring him off the bench and you miss no physicality, you lose no defense. He can play off SGA. He's right there, plug it in.
The Spider-Man meme thing. Two Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's like Sion and Lou Dort, right? Like,
yeah. Maybe even Jalen Williams too. I guess he's pretty big too. But so shouts to Charlotte. I really like what they did in this draft. I mean, what do y'all think of Sion in terms of? So we mentioned Khan as a maybe projected starter here. What do you see the role for Sion? Do you see this as kind of being a draft and stash kind of thing? I mean, he seems like he could just be on this roster. I mean, that roster is not great. I mean, is he a rotation player in Charlotte next year? I mean, would you go that high? Does he crack the top 10?
I would say top 10, but I don't know. Like,
maybe not.
Yeah, But on the other hand, like he is like what 22, 23, so maybe that
At
helps him
least,
out there.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 50 years. So, yeah, he's at
But
least 20. Yeah.
did the Hornets still have Wendell Moore on the
Yeah.
2A? Yeah.
I think he's there. I think Wendell's on the roster.
Okay.
And so he'll be there. Raul mentioned Trey Mann. You got Grant Williams. I'm trying to think of who else who would really be competing against Seth Curry, maybe in terms of just guard type of minutes. McNeely is another guy of, they drafted him first round, so there's going to be some at least initial investment there. But he seems like the guy that might most have to go to the D League. Maybe I don't know.
McNeely, I think for sure. Yeah, I mean, when you look at McNeely's college stats, it's not like he lit the world on fire. Dude shot like 38%.
I think UConn had some weird stuff going on too.
Yeah,
but I agree.
He had some injury
defensive
problems.
Stuff isn't quite, in the playmaking. I mean, there's some stuff there. There's things to like, of course, but I think if I had to pick one of their top three guys, these guard wings, he might be the odd one out. Maybe, I don't know.
So I would predict that Sion will get like significant burn at some point in the year, maybe just not off the bat, because I was looking at their roster from last year and they played like 30 guys during the course of the season, like, which is crazy, right? Because NBA has like a 15-man roster. So just between all the trades they made and injuries, and just like there's like 30 dudes listed on their page, like on Basketball Reference or whatever. So if that trend continues, you could definitely see
pretty safe bet.
Like, by like March or April, like the doldrums of the NBA season, you could definitely see him just like getting some real burn.
Especially if they're like, if LaMelo's hurt and we're kind of in tank it, F it mode, and
exactly.
like,
you got like 18 wins in February, like you might as well just put him out there.
And then you look up and you're seeing this like Sion, Wendell starting lineup, and you're like, whoa, all right, here we go. We'll see.
I'm buying tickets to that game, see them lose to like, OKC by 40, but I'll have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, all right, I guess we'll talk a little bit here about Tyrese too. So I don't know if you could consider that he, like a lot of, I mean, Tyrese falling or he slips down to 49. I mean, I'm trying to be careful how I say this. To me, it's getting drafted is just a success right now. I think, like, I thought there was some fear that he might have to just immediately hop on a roster, like Brian was saying, like that might just be a reality here. I was kind of loving the fits in for Indiana there, but then I was like, that's just probably too high right there. Ends up going 49 to Cleveland, which, I mean, going 49th, that's probably one of the better fits you could ask for, I guess, in terms of like you're in a good culture situation, you're in a good franchise, you got good management, you got a good roster, and they're probably going to have to make a decision with some of their guards anyway that are on pretty big, massive contracts, whether that's Mitchell or Garland. It feels like inevitable at some point. So I mean, I could see him getting some burn there. I mean, I don't know. What do y'all like of that? What do y'all like or not like about the fit with Cleveland, Tyrese?
Well, I just think it's cool that he ended up on like a contending team.
Like
Cleveland won 64 games last year, right? They were the one seed in the East. Now, again, they disappointed in the playoffs, but there were some injuries and stuff as a part of that. But it's just being thrown into this situation where you're on a winner, you've got depth, so there's not a lot of pressure for you to do anything right away. But you've got like a really competent infrastructure around you. Like Kenny Atkinson has proven to be a great developmental coach. That was kind of the first thing I thought of. Like, I think if anybody can kind of figure out, okay, what is this dude good at? Which is like, as we've seen, like off-ball movement and shooting, right? Like that's where he really kind of exploded this year. If anybody can figure that out, it would be Atkinson. He just made the most of a lot of different guys this last season. You don't win 64 games without doing that, right? So, yeah, I just think it's like it's a great situation for him. It's going to be a tough top, 10 or whatever to crack because they've got enough talent, especially at guard, that like, it's not like he's not beating out Darius Garland, right? He's not beating out, anyone in their top 10, but you know, I just wanted to see him go somewhere like successful, right? Like the places I had penciled in that were interesting for him were like OKC, Golden State. I didn't even really think about Cleveland, but I like it.
Yeah, and I mean, go ahead, Shu.
I was just gonna say, for me, like it's just a cumulative journey for Tyrese. Like he came in a year early. He had the high hopes, like, had the he's gonna be an NBA guy, and then we weren't sure and then, it's just nice to see, like you said, it's not a lottery pick, but to get drafted is an accomplishment in itself to be picked. So give him a chance, see what he can do for him.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of times when we look at it and say, okay, this guy went 49th, he should have came back. But second round contracts have just changed so much lately, man. And like it wouldn't surprise me if Tyrese got some kind of 3-year, $4-5 million deal, man, or like even more. Like I know first rounds, I think like late first rounds, they typically get what, like 7 million or something over 3 years, like 2 point something a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he made 5 mil, I mean, how much NIL are you going to dump into that, right? Like that's not bad to just go in there and to see what you got. I mean, he gave us 3 years. I think it's a pretty good landing spot. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think he'll spend some time in the G League for sure, right?
Yeah.
Like he'll be a guy. He'll have to go down there. He'll have to kind of get acclimated to it. I think there are a few kind of maybe not concerns, but just like how much can we push the envelope physically with this kid, right? Like as you saw over 3 years, the frame, he added some strength, but the frame was kind of the frame, right? And so there might be some questions there of like, okay, the defense is good, but how can it hold up physically, right? Like, can you be someone we can put 1 through 3, 1 through 4, maybe not, but you at least got to be able to do 1 through 3. And there's some big wings out there, so I don't know, man. I hope it works out. I mean, I think the volume that he was starting to shoot at, like that Derek White level 3-point volume that he was shooting at Duke towards the last month of the season, if you can shoot 40% on 10 threes a game, then yeah, you're gonna play, man. So we'll see. I think he's a good connective guy. I think he's a good culture guy. He knows the game. The IQ's there. But there's just some limitations that you have to work on. And I think the 3-point shot is the ultimate trump card to those limitations. If you're struggling with that first step, if you can't get all the way to the rim, if you can show, and he did show it too, that you can make off dribble threes and catch and shoot threes, then especially those off dribble threes, that going left, man, him coming left off those like high ball screens, he was draining those off the top of the key up there. So that's a big shot to take. I mean, to have.
I think he'll be just fine defensively, at least at the 1 and 2, right? Like he's a great screen navigator. Like he's not as strong as like a guy like Sion, who I think will probably prove to be the better overall defender just because of his like strength. But at the same time, like Duke really hasn't had a guard at his level of screen navigation. Like it's tough to think of other guys who did it as well as him.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you have to. Yeah, I mean, he was really, really good at it. Especially like we didn't see it as much this year. Just because the nature of it, but like his first year, man, those little give and go passes, him and Flip had that little connective where he's able to cut and weave. There's some playmaking, some connective passing that you can, use. I would have liked to see him in a place like Orlando. Maybe it's like coming off the bench, playing with like a Jalen Suggs type. You just throw both of those guys out there and let them operate. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't hate it. I like it more.
It's just good to like see him get drafted just because it would have been kind of a bummer if he left Duke and had the chance to come back and then just goes undrafted, right? Like maybe the net consequence is the same, right? Like maybe he just gets picked up immediately and just ends up in the same situation he would have been, but it's still like when you're drafted, somebody spent a pick on you and they're like a little bit more likely to invest in you in that situation. But like Brian said, or maybe it was even John Watson who said it, like what could, from Tyrese's perspective, he could have come back just because he wanted to come back. But what could he have proved to the NBA that he hadn't already shown? Right? Like his limitations weren't going to change.
Yeah, and I just saw right now that the intention is the Cavs are intending to sign him to a multi-year deal. So there you go, right? Like they're invested in him.
For all we know, he had them as a guarantee. Like
and maybe they said like, hey, if you're here,
he chose to go.
if you're here, you won't fall past this, and unless something crazy happens. But if we had this pick at 49, you're ours. Maybe that was it. I guess before I know we want to go into something else like real quickly, but I think at some point we should just reflect on. Folks, that's the entire starting five, the top 50 picks of the draft. That's pretty historic. I know it was the first time we've had 3 top 10 since 2019. I think it was also 2 top 5s for 2019 and this year. You had another number 1. So that's go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think there've only been like maybe 4 or 5 teams ever who had 3 guys go in the top 10. I know Kentucky did it once, and Duke did it obviously in 2019. I think Duke maybe did it one time before, but if they did, it was long.
I want to say they
99 would have had Elton Brand, and I don't know if anybody went 4th.
Maggette didn't go that high.
I
think. I was thinking also of 02. Dunleavy, Jay Will, Boozer. I don't know how high Boozer
went second round. Remember?
Yeah,
that is right. So it wouldn't have been that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was another Kentucky team. Oh, you know who it was? It was Florida. The 2017.
07. Horford, Noah, Green, and then the other guard.
Corey Brewer.
There you go. So that's, it's a story, and it tracks what we just saw, right? Like, obviously, you want to see that, and you're like, oh, you didn't win it all, but it's like you just had the best team we've had in 30 years. You just had a team that went overall? It was like they lost 1 game in the ACC out of how many? If you can win the ACC tournament, 23. 23 or 22 and 1 or whatever it was, right? In the ACC. Historic KenPom ratings, historic number 1 offense, number 1 defense at times. You make a Final Four. I mean, it tracks.
It's just the nature of college basketball, man. Like, the best team just doesn't always win, right? Like,
and a 1 game run off like that, it just happens, man. Like, look at some of these comebacks that Indiana had. And you just, over the course of a series, they almost pulled it off again.
That's what I was going to bring up. Like, even in the NBA with 7-game series, the best team doesn't always win, right?
Yeah, it's still sometimes.
Cleveland
it just happens. Team, I mean, 2016, the ultimate, obviously you have LeBron there, but we had Coop, it can just happen. I think if you play that final, we don't need to go through it again, but you play that 14-point lead out 10 times and Duke probably wins 9.8 on a scale of those, right? It just happened to hit that percent chance for where it bites you. But I think that just speaks volumes too. I mean, if you look already, Scheyer's had 3 seasons, and just look at the talent that he's already putting out in the league, man. And not all of it was top 5, not top 5 dudes coming in. Con going top 5 was just not a McDonald's All-American. Wasn't even talked about at all. And I'm not going to no shots here at all, but when we had Brian on, we were talking about Darren Harris being the guy, or Slim. We were debating on those two. And it's the number 4 pick in the draft, Con Knipple, that's busting our ass out here, right? And it's like there's a talent evaluation that Scheyer has, or his staff has. I don't know who he wants to allocate the credit there to. I'm going to give it to him because, Flip was ranked sub 100, and then we got in on that really early, and all of a sudden he's a top 2 player in the class, right? He goes way up. TJ Powers, one that you might say didn't really pan out, but then maybe you can say Scheyer got out on that pretty quick too, right? So, but he was another guy that ran through that same sort of kind of dynamic there.
Jared McCain,
100%, 100%. That's a great one.
Dude was ranked like what, like.
He was in that 17 to 20 something range, 17, 22, basically where Con was, but
as a rookie of the year. He's basically a rookie of the year in the NBA though, right?
If he doesn't get injured, he is, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he is.
And that's just like, and he was, I don't think he went lottery. What did he go, like 16th or something?
He went 16th, He was just outside the lottery, but
Yeah.
Still way higher than you would project a guy who was like 17th in his class to go, right? Like guys in that 15 to 20 range usually are like good freshmen, but not great freshmen. At least historically at Duke, right? So you think about him coming in and being our second best player after Flip, and then
and then
practically
going
going
higher
butter.
than Flip in the NBA.
Basically being our best player there for a while
Yeah.
there could be argued, right? I mean,
And then obviously Lively was a highly ranked guy, but look at what he did in the NBA in his first season.
Yep. And then you look at a guy like Sion that comes in and it's like, hey, we're bringing this kid in from Tulane, and obviously Sion put the work in, and a lot of the credit goes to him, but there's some development there, man. There's at least putting in guys in the right positions to be able to have these type of seasons. I had never even heard of Kaman until we got involved, and like, boom, that happened very quickly. He comes in, all the expectations are tempered, hasn't only touched a basketball like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then top 10 pick. I mean, there's something to be said about the development and what he's doing over here.
Look what he did for Cedric Coward's 2 days on campus.
No shit.
A guy came in, took some shots in the gym, had a couple.
I had never heard of Cedric Coward, but
and then went 11th in the draft.
The scouting,
incredible, dude. Incredible.
Yeah, dude. The scouting talent is just pretty absurd, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder, obviously when you look at Coward's measurements, and you look at his shooting, and you look at the metrics and the fact that he shot like 70% from 2 in college and all this stuff, the signs were there, right? But again, we had never heard of him. Like, what happens if Duke and Alabama don't get involved? And then if he doesn't commit to Duke, right? Like, maybe he still goes, maybe he probably still gets drafted, right? Because he's a like dude with a ridiculous wingspan, and he can fill it up and like whatever, right? But I'm thinking he gets drafted more like second round as like this flyer versus, just the hype that.
Like if we had waited a month, then Scheyer is putting back-to-back 3 top 10 picks in the draft, basically, right? Because then you're going to put Cedric into next year's draft with Cam Boozer, with Slim or Pat, whoever you think is going to be up there. I think both of those guys could be up there. Like it's pretty impressive, man. I mean, I don't even want to think about the fact that we could have just had a top 10 pick, basically, just coming right in, man. That's
well, and by all accounts, Sar could have that.
You pivot, but what a pivot, right? A pivot. I mean, you just go get Sar too, who could easily just be that next guy right in this line of seamless fit.
But it is a little painful to think about, like, just because Coward is probably going to be more polished than Sar, right? Like, so.
Oh, and he's just freakish. Like his measurements are just freakish.
7'2" wingspan on a 6'6" dude. It makes no sense.
I mean, to me, like when I was looking at like some of the stuff, it's like, oh, so if we just like gave DeMarcus Nelson a 45% 3-point shot, this is what we're looking at here, and it's like,
and gave him like a 40-inch vertical too.
Yeah. Because DeMarcus had probably the biggest wingspan I might have ever seen, dude. Like his
Rajon Rondo arms.
Yeah, dude. Like DeMarcus was just, I mean, the length was incredible. Shouts to DeMarcus.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how a dude like that went so unscouted that he ends up playing Division III and then ends up going to like a really bad Division I school, then transfers to like a mediocre Division I school where of course he gets injured, but like just under-scouted at every point of his like career, and then Scheyer notices him, and suddenly it's like everybody does, right?
Yeah, man, that's the way it goes. But I think it was at least worth mentioning. Just Scheyer as an evaluator, an eye for talent, a scout, whatever you want to call it. It's impressive, man. It's impressive, but
I mean, he recently we got in on Cole Rosario, and unfortunately he commits to Kansas, but similar trajectory, right? Like Scheyer has proven to be really good at spotting these guys who are like in the 80 to 100 or even outside of that range, and just noticing that they're rising and they're going to be like, because I bet Rosario finishes like as a top 15 player.
Yeah, Sure. Yeah. I guess we did just kind of snake SAR away from Kansas. So I had
That's true. Yeah.
bone a little bit.
Yeah.
So, they didn't take our scraps, but I was high on Cole. I thought that would have been a good fit. I was hoping for next year. But I guess he's coming in now. So.
Yeah. I think that was the big factor there was he wanted to reclassify and we've just got, 10 or 11 rotation guys already. It's like, did he really want to come in and just, wait out his turn? I guess not.
Maybe if Sebastian wasn't on the roster there, but I mean, Sebastian looks good too, man. So, hey, we'll see. We'll see.
I really like Wilkins' jumper from what I've seen. That surprised me because I didn't think of him as a shooter.
I know. I'm looking forward to all of the summer footage and who's the next con, right? And like, what's the identity of the team and just how awesome Cam might be or whatever.
I'm predicting Wilkins is going to be the guy who everybody's going to be clamoring for to get minutes. Like the second we lose,
he's our Alex Murphy.
Right? Yeah, exactly. just there's somebody every year, right? Like who's like, if we only play
Sean Stewart, Alex Murphy. There's always Gabenije was one of those. Jordan Tucker, if you remember that, way back. But all right, fellas. I guess we'll go ahead and kind of wrap this up here. Anything else y'all have to say or plug? I mean, for me, it's really cool to see all 5 go. Obviously, to see 2 go top 5, to add another number 1 pick is pretty massive. Because for a while there, it's been a long time from Elton to Kyrie, and then now it's just like Zion, Paolo, Cooper, maybe Cam, Boozer. So. We'll see. Keep putting talent out there, man. You keep surrounding yourself with this much talent. It's just eventually you're going to break through. Yeah, you're just going to break through for me. So I'm excited. I think also for me, and we'll get out of here. The draft somewhat provided some closure to this year that I was still just kind of like, I love this team, man. Like, I love this group. I've watched the highlights. I watched all of the individual highlights. Shouts to the Dave and the Duke men's basketball media department over there. But I just still wanted to watch this team. And I felt kind of bad thinking man, we got a new group of guys coming in. This kind of seals the deal a little bit of okay, now you're a Dallas Maverick, you're a Charlotte Hornet, you're a Cleveland Cavalier, kind of in that chapter a little bit and buckle up to do it again. We'll see. Yeah. Indy's been favorable for us, so maybe we'll get some magic. But
it does help that we're getting a fair amount of these guys back, right?
Yeah, you bring Slim and Pat back, and
those were the big ones for me. Imagine if they had gone, right? It's okay, you knew Malik was probably coming back, and but imagine if those guys had left, and you're just looking at a completely new team after last year.
Yeah.
It's just having that little bit of continuity is nice.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get
Foster, of course, too. Yeah,
you're gonna get your ass beat in Raleigh anyway. But imagine Slim dropping 30 on you doing it. That is just a super depressing thought. Right. So yeah, that would have been awful.
Meanwhile, you have Foster at Louisville or Stanford playing against us, and it's
just don't want to entertain that. But yeah, so shouts to the squad. Like I said, I'll go top 50. That's pretty cool. You put 5 guys in the draft. Shouts to John. Just speaks to the year that we had, the roster that we had, the group that we had. So we'll put a nice bow on it, and I guess we'll start to look forward. We're trying to get some guests here. I'm going on vacation for about 10 days here, so we're going to be a little bit out of the loop. And then we'll come back and we'll start to kind of hammer some things out for the summer. We'll start to look at some player workout stuff. We'll have some stuff coming in about the guys, the squad. We'll get Coach on here at some point in the summer once we get a little bit of roster information. I want to kind of shake some stuff out of him, hopefully. But in the meantime, we appreciate you all. Rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching us here, you can find us on YouTube, TheDevilsDen.com. Anywhere you listen to the podcast, we always appreciate that too. You can email us, TheDevilsDenPod@gmail.com. Find us on X/Twitter at DevilsDenPod247. And keep the faces strong and the verb high. Go Duke.